Facing the new generations nowadays can really be challenging and frustrating at the same time. And since they are challenging and mind boggling, we would want to unlock the techniques in order for us to better understand the Gen Zs and millennial generations. Further, let us all mind their whys, fully discern their needs, and keep track on how to retain them. Our next speaker, being a millennial himself, has built an organization composed of young entrepreneurs and professional network marketeers. Their managing techniques in the team is different from traditional network marketing setup. They teach from dressing professionally up to proper conduct. Please welcome our executive two-star Diamond Director, Ryan Tan.
Thanks for that, Miss Ethel. First and foremost, hello to everybody in USANA. It is the second year in a row that we are having our Asia Pacific Convention in virtual format. Would have loved more to see you all live at Suntec just like before, but for now, we will just make do with this online channel that has been proven effective in attracting millennials and Gen Zs alike into considering USANA as a career path and as a full-time business. But before I get to my actual topic, let me first introduce myself for those who don't know me yet. I have been in USANA for over a decade, 13 years to be exact. The year I got invited was the same year I graduated from nursing school. Originally, I planned to migrate to the US, practice nursing, and apply for citizenship. Unfortunately, the year I graduated, the US went into recession and their unemployment rate shot up. Consequently, they put a moratorium on hiring foreigners. Personally, I found that to be so frustrating because I was one of many who took nursing as a college degree, hoping to get paid well and become a US citizen. As young as 21 years old, it was clear to me that attaining financial success in a third world country like the Philippines was not easy, especially via employment. And so, even though becoming a licensed nurse was not necessarily a dream of mine, when I was young, I ended up choosing what was pragmatic. Unable to work in the US and left with not much lucrative opportunities in the Philippines, I did consider and started USANA as a business together with my business partner back in 2009. Initially, my motivation in doing USANA was just to cross the bridge until opportunities for nurses open up abroad. However, as I gradually started to truly understand the beauty and genius of the USANA business, I ended up deciding just to forgo my nursing plan and just do the business full-time. 13 years later, after much persistence and hard work, proudly, my business partner and I are now two-star Diamond Directors in the business. A lot of people always ask us how we were able to grow our team and sustain our energy. We have always given all sorts of answers, not really knowing also the exact formula that went well for us. But now, in retrospect, I would say the success we've had in growing our network was thankfully due to the presence of so many dynamic and young leaders in our organizations, particularly the millennials and Gen Zs. A lot of leaders in USANA who are baby boomers are also very much interested to cultivate a network of young entrepreneurs. But it has always been a challenge for them to effectively engage and nurture young talent in their organizations. And that brings me to my main topic this session. How do we actually develop the next generation of leaders in our network marketing business? Well, first and foremost, to effectively engage and work with millennials and Gen Zs in our teams, we must be able to properly identify who they are and what are their motivations and characteristics that make them unique. Millennials are defined by sociologists as those having been born in between the years 1981 and 1986. That range includes me, and I am a millennial. Gen Zs, on the other hand, are the ones said to have been born in between the years 1997 to 2012. Generally and obviously, millennials and Gen Zs are younger than the baby boomers. But apart from their youth, let's talk about the stark reality that both these demographics are contending with today. A lot of economists refer to millennials and Gen Zs as being both part of which they call the sandwich generation. If it's your first time hearing the term, you would find it quite depressing. The term sandwich generation refers to the people who are eventually forced to assume the financial burden of having to take care of their parents once their parents retire or get sickly, while at the same time, they are also challenged by the financial cost of raising their own family. 30 or 40 years ago, people who retired were quite financially capable of taking care of themselves and even had assets to pass on to the next generation. Today, a lot of those who are about to retire in the immediate future have not much personal savings, and even their social safety nets are failing them. These retirees don't want to depend on their kids, but are actually forced to do so. This is most especially true in Asia, especially in third world countries. Sadly, as the parents gradually start to depend on their kids have yet to attain their own financial breakthroughs. And it is so difficult for millennials and Gen Zs to all of a sudden assume the responsibility. A cursory look at the immediate available global economic data would show that the per capita income has only grown so minutely throughout the years, but inflation has constantly run away. That puts millennials and Gen Zs in between a rock and a hard place. They work so hard, they up their skills, they tirelessly compete in the workplace, hoping that one day the salary increase would catch on with their expenses. And precisely because of this economic reality, Gen Zs and millennials have been forced to break out of their parents' boxes. They cannot merely just get an 8-to-5 job, establish a corporate career, get a loan, buy a house, a car, and give their kids good education. The formula that worked for their parents won't anymore work for them. If they want a house, a car, and provide good education to their kids, aside from their existing jobs, they must look for side hustles. And obviously, most of side hustles that Gen Zs and millennials are maximizing are technology-based. You would see this generation of kids innovate and embrace technology like no other. Technology has created lots of economic opportunities for both millennials and Gen Zs, and they are both simply hungry for these opportunities. A lot of baby boomers tend to see millennials and Gen Zs to be impatient, fickle-minded, compared to their steady, stick-to-one-job generation. But in reality, this generation must really work so hard and not waste time on low-income opportunities. Otherwise, they will not be able to financially thrive. I'd like to share with you more insights about millennials and Gen Zs. In one of the articles by the New York Times, they did try to profile the young generation today. Specifically, how were they doing in terms of 5 key areas? First, completing a college degree. Second, emancipating from their parents. Third, financial independence. Fourth, getting married. And fifth, having kids. Interestingly, in the 1960s, by the time kids then reached the age 30, 77% of the women and 65% of the men had already attained all of the 5 key areas. They did the same assessment years later in 2010. The numbers were vastly different for the kids going into adulthood today. By the time kids now reach their 30s, only 30% of the women and only 10% of the men would have achieved all 5 key areas. Well, culture and social media has influenced the changes in the numbers, but not as much as the economic reality of today. Another interesting fact about millennials and Gen Zs, in one survey shared in one of the many informative TED Talks, asked what they would love to pursue after college, most of the kids now answer, they would rather be entrepreneurs rather than pursue employment. Now that we all know the characteristics and motivations of the younger generation, why is it smart to attract and engage and nurture them in our teams? First, they are very, 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 very energetic. In my experience, if you truly engage them and they really set their eyes on their goals, they don't mind doing 5 to 10 presentations a day. They simply don't run out of energy. Secondly, they don't work like robots. You train them, you give them a goal, they start working, and when they meet obstacles, they are always able to think outside the box and find creative ways and means to do the business more efficiently, and at the end, still achieve their goals. Thirdly, the young generation are so good at social media. Well, in network marketing, the general rule is, Whatever your weakness is, you compensate for by sponsoring people whose strength is that particular weakness of yours. So if you are somebody not necessarily good when it comes to social media, simply sponsor and work with millennials and Gen Zs. Fourthly, having young people in your organization provides a fresh perspective on how your business must adapt to the changing times. It also ensures that the language and themes spoken in trainings are always apt to the current times. So in short, having millennials and Gen Zs in your team always allows you to keep up with the latest trends. Lastly, and most importantly, Gen Zs and millennials are the future. If you want to ensure that your USANA business will continue to thrive, obviously, you should have a youthful bunch of leaders in your organizations. Now that we understand why having young people in our teams is extremely important, let's go to the next point. Is the USANA business something that promotes the world's best vitamin products distributed via a network marketing scheme still cool for the new generation today? The answer to that is a big yes. First, millennials and Gen Zs don't mind venturing into the unknown just so they could find that financial breakthrough. USANA may be totally alien to them at first, but once they see how lucrative the business is, they would strongly consider it. Secondly, the USANA opportunity provides them with the opportunity to earn, while they also get to choose the amount of hours they work on the business. If you look at the other side hustles of millennials and Gen Zs, they are all characteristically for people who don't like having bosses and working fixed hours. USANA is no different. Thirdly, contrasted with the older generation, millennials and Gen Zs are generally into healthier lifestyles. They scrutinize food labels, they have the propensity to spend more on healthful grocery items, and they always work out regularly. USANA's culture of promoting optimum health is actually very, very conducive for this health-conscious generation. Next, USANA is a perfect fit for millennials and Gen Zs alike because it is a very efficient business which has invested heavily on technology. You don't have to do door-to-door selling. You don't have to do paperwork when you enroll sign-ups or place product orders. You don't have to queue at hotlines to get information from the company. Everything that you need is accessible via USANA's mobile app. We keep on saying that this generation loves technology. Well, USANA has that technology available for them the moment they get started in the business. Fifthly, USANA is something that millennials and Gen Zs would come to love because USANA is an inclusive, health-loving, and fun-loving community. The young ones are not a cliquish bunch, wanting to be left alone with an ultra-exclusive group. Rather, they want to associate themselves with a bigger group and to a bigger cause. Being part of USANA satisfies that desire of theirs. Lastly, the young generation really care for the environment and truly have the heart for social causes. Millennials and Gen Zs are very philanthropic. Almost all the young ones in our team are always enthusiastic to engage in the activities of the USANA True Health Foundation. It always amazes them to see that a billion-dollar company like USANA has always been a responsible partner of their communities. And it makes them even prouder to be part of the company. To attract millennials and Gen Zs, there were adjustments my team and I have made to make the business more palatable to them. What we have noticed, the young generation are able to process highly complex information so easily. So what we did was to simplify and shorten our presentation format. Very quickly, we explain why the USANA products are the very best, how the business is done, and introduce the team they would be part of in case they decide to join. All in all, we're able to do that in half an hour. It has made us more effective in convincing them to consider the business. Second is actually an old method that everybody for sure uses. If you want to attract Gen Zs, start sharing stories of Gen Zs who have already attained a fair amount of success in USANA. Same goes for millennials. It doesn't matter if you're a baby boomer presenting to a young person. Just share stories of people from the same age group. And that's already good enough to help you convince them about the business. Third, we should maximize and showcase the mobile app and the website of USANA. We always give a quick walkthrough of logging in, placing orders, checking on your teammates, and the enrollment process. It always amazes the prospect to see how the app and the website make the business so easy to do. Lastly, as millennials and Gen Zs have that desire to be part of a broader community, don't just share stories of millennials and Gen Zs, share stories also of so many people to them. It inspires them and showcases to them the diversity of the people who are actually part of the USANA community. And now that you already know about some of the adjustments that would help you attract the younger generation, let's go to the last and most important part of how we should coach and mentor millennials and Gen Zs effectively. To me, it's pretty much the same as working with any other demographic. We need to teach them about how wonderful the USANA products are and what makes them the best. We also need to make them understand how the compensation plan works and must guide them as they build their business centers. But apart from those things, there are key differences in coaching and mentoring the new generation versus the Gen X and baby boomers. First, we have always been told that in business and leadership, people don't care how much you know unless they know how much you care. Well, that still holds true. But for millennials and Gen Zs, it's slightly different. Before USANA, they have all been exposed to so many motivational talks already. They already heard words of wisdom from the likes of Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, Simon Sinek, Robert Kiyosaki, and so many others. They have also been exposed to countless other opportunities. And so when they give you their time and attention, not only must you show them that you care, you must also show them how good you are. And so, with that in mind, we should always strive to add to our leadership and knowledge. Because unlike before the time of social media when information was limited, the kids we're working with now are actually smarter than we think, and we must be able to add value to them if we really want to win their trust and engage them in the business. Secondly, as millennials and Gen Zs always want to be out there and apply what they learn, we must keep in mind that we don't necessarily need to be teaching them the same things over and over and over again and suck their enthusiasm out of them. They hate redundancy, they pick things up fast. Always give them tasks to accomplish and goals to work on. They like keeping busy and being productive. They don't like being made to sit through lots of trainings for long hours. And speaking of trainings, thirdly, you would want to avoid bombarding and exhausting your team with needless trainings and meetings. Try to see how you can make your team calendar more efficient for everyone. We cannot keep doing meetings and trainings for the sake of having them. The older generation grew with that environment. Millennials and Gen Zs were raised differently. Keep all meetings fun, balanced, and straight to the point. Fourthly, as millennials and Gen Zs are highly innovative, teach them a system of doing the business and how to hit goals, but at the same time, you must leave some room for them to innovate. For example, personally, I have always approached prospecting the way I was taught, reaching out to people via chats and calls. But the young people in my team, they are not so enthusiastic doing the business like that. They use TikTok to prospect, and I don't even know how to use TikTok. I don't even have an account. So puzzles me till now, they're actually quite effective. They're able to get signups via TikTok. So in short, you have to teach them a system that works, but always allow for innovation. Don't be rigid. Lastly, millennials and Gen Zs are very smart, and so you would want to be truthful all the time. Decades ago, network marketers would lure people with fancy sports cars, claims of astronomical paychecks, and lots of other extravagance. That style is already out of fashion. It doesn't work anymore. To attract the young generation, tell them the real score. Yes, they can be gold, ruby, emerald, diamond, and so on, and that idea would actually wow them. But also tell them about the hard work, the sacrifices, the challenges, and your story of personal development. They all love hearing those things because they are eager to develop themselves as well. The young generation possesses a growth mindset. They're willing to learn, grow, and adapt. They're willing to pay the price for success. So there's no need for us to lure them with glossy and filtered success stories. That's old school network marketing. It won't click with the next generation leaders in your network. As I end my presentation, I would like to share a picture of my team in the last in-person Asia Pacific Convention back in 2019. You would see we actually have a diverse group. We have students, corporate people, business people, young ones, old ones. Our group is actually about 65% 30 years old and below, and 35% 31 and up. We love the mix in our team. The young ones learn from the wisdom of the older ones, while the older ones draw energy from the young ones. We are happy with what we have, and we want to grow it even bigger. Hopefully, we would be able to triple our number in the 2023 Asia Pacific Convention, and hopefully it would be a live one already. To end, as we all continue to share the vision of Dr. Wentz of making the USANA family even bigger than before, let us make a serious effort in being more effective in taking care and nurturing the young leaders in the business. Let's not only stick to what we already know. Let's always adapt and always have a youthful energy. Thanks everyone and keep safe.
Thank you, Ryan. That was a very enlightening talk. Truly, the world is really evolving and so does our leaders. Ryan, as a millennial himself, really find out how to understand as to how they are different and continuously explore ways to attract and retain this segment of the society. With that, let us welcome our Gen Zs and millennial sectors of our community with open arms. May we all have the best for the day ahead.